friends, yes, welcome to another episode of Nintendo Nightcap, bringing you all the latest Nintendo news. Today we've got a huge story talking about the power possibly inside that of the Switch 2. It's another rumor, another update if you will. But before we jump into that story, I quickly got to mention a giveaway we've got going on because yes, on the 26th of September, I'll be giving away a copy of Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. So if you want to be entered into that draw, you just got to like and subscribe and then tune in on the 26th of September during our live stream of the game's launch to see if your luck pans out for you. Right then, the big story of the day, as I said, there has been another update concerning the power that might possibly be inside that of the Switch 2, and that comes courtesy of Moore's Law is Dead, because yes, on his own Q&A on his channel, he spoke about the power he believed will be inside of the Switch 2 and how comparable it might be to that of the Steam Deck or the Xbox Series S. But what exactly did it say? How powerful will the Switch 2 be? Let's listen to a small snippet of what he had to say on his podcast first.
If you have a game that runs well on the Steam Deck at 90, my suspicion is on the Switch 2, it will run at 60 and maybe a shaky 60. But it will be running at a higher resolution, maybe even with tiny amounts of ray tracing on. And then if a Steam Deck game is running at 60 frames per second, again, you'll be running it at a really unstable 60 or maybe even locked 40 frames per second VRR on the Steam Deck in docked mode. But again, higher resolution in the Steam Deck with the Switch 2. And if there's a Steam Deck game that you got to run at 30 or 40, I'm sorry, they got to run at 40. Like a lot of people play the Steam Deck at 40 frames per second. Yeah, I mean, that means that the Switch 2 is going to run at 30. So that's how I would see the difference, but still running the same games. And because it has more RAM, I think it will run them. It'll run them fine.
So there you go, my friends. Very interesting indeed from Moore's Law that claims that yes, the Switch 2 will indeed be able to play AAA games, modern AAA games, competently on the Switch 2, especially when using the Xbox Series S and the Steam Deck as a basis for comparisons. Now, he does go into a lot more detail into what he believes will power the Switch 2, which I will delve into a little bit, but I am going to point you to the link in the description below, which will have the entire video for you to check out because it's well worth a watch, so I urge you to go and watch that. Now then, according to Moore's Law, if we want to have a good idea at how well the Switch 2 will run AAA games, we need to just look at the Steam Deck for comparison. As he claims, to put it simply, the Switch 2 would potentially run the same game as on the Steam Deck with lower frame rates but equal or higher resolutions using DLSS. So as an example, if the Steam Deck was running Doom Eternal, which we're seeing here, running at 1080p 45 FPS, then the Switch 2 would possibly run it at 30 FPS, but with the same or even higher than the 1080p here, which to me sounds pretty incredible. The Switch 2 could effectively use a base resolution of 720p and using DLSS bump it up to 1080p, or even possibly use a base resolution of 1080p and bump that up to 4K. This is clearly a huge jump from the original Switch, but can the Switch 2 really run games this well with just the use of DLSS? What's powering the super intensive super sampling method the Switch 2 will reportedly be using? Well, luckily for us, Moore's Law gives us even more information by claiming that whilst the CPU powering the Switch 2 will indeed be pretty weak according to what he's heard, it will have a GPU that when in dock mode will be comparable to that in the Xbox Series S. And on top of that, the Switch 2 is rumored to have more RAM than the Series S. Whilst that Xbox model currently has 10 gigabytes of RAM, Nintendo's Switch successor is rumored to house 12 gigabytes of RAM, a huge jump from the 4 gigabytes of RAM in the OG Switch. All of this, coupled with the fact that the Switch 2 will be using more modern and efficient architecture, means that the notion of huge AAA games coming to a Nintendo console and running with relative parity of more powerful systems does now seem a realistic scenario. It's all very, very exciting. And another piece of information Moore's Law offered up was the type of APU chip being used inside the Switch 2, which he claims was an 8 nanometer, although he believes now this could even be a Samsung 7 nanometer chip, which would make the Switch 2 even more power efficient, which of course is crucial when providing a decent battery life, something vital for a system on the go. So there you go, my friends, extremely exciting news, and I am myself in danger of believing it. I am in danger of believing that the Switch 2 might actually be as powerful as all these rumors are suggesting. Of course, I have been very reluctant, and that's because in the past we have been burnt countless times. Let's not forget the original Switch was meant to be as powerful as a base PS4. Of course, it wasn't. Back in the day, the original Wii was meant to be extremely powerful, and effectively, it was just two GameCubes duct-taped together. But it does seem as though all these rumors are aligning, and thanks to advancement in mobile technology, DLSS, it seems as though Nintendo is not only going to be able to bring us a console with all its original ideas, but one that is home to AAA games, no matter how big or intensive, and that is super exciting to me, and I do start to believe in it. Let's not forget, Nintendo recently acquired the developer or the studio Shiver Entertainment specifically to port over games. They in the past already have ported games to the Switch, namely Hogwarts Legacy and Mortal Kombat 1. So it seems as though Nintendo is planning to bring over more ports, more AAA ports over to its new system, and that is extremely exciting. Not least because now not only will we be getting the biggest AAA games, hopefully we already know we're going to be getting future Call of Duty games, but that these games will look much closer to their counterparts on other systems. The gap between AAA games on Nintendo consoles and how they look and run on other systems is going to be much shorter than they were with the original Switch, and that gets me so excited. But let's not forget, we cannot hope for just a Switch 2 that is basically just a Switch more powerful. Nintendo cannot run into that mistake. I don't believe they will, but you know, it's clear that people are becoming a little bit disillusioned with the new gen consoles. We already know that half of Sony's fans still play the PS4. They haven't upgraded to the PS5. And that's because there's little incentive, because effectively Sony just released the PS4, but a little bit more powerful. Nintendo cannot run into that mistake. They cannot release a Switch that's just more powerful. I don't believe they will. We've seen a bunch of patterns to point to things like AR and VR. I'm sure Nintendo's gonna have a bunch of original ideas, but it's awesome to know that as well as that, it looks as though the machine is gonna be capable enough to give us experiences that maybe we couldn't on the original Switch. So that is super exciting. But my friends, there you go. That is another video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I really want to know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you believe these rumors? Do you think it all points to a more capable Switch 2? Or do you believe it's too good to be true and they will end up being a lot less powerful? Let me know in the comments below. Of course, until then, my friends, I hope you'll have an awesome day. I will be back tomorrow with all the latest Nintendo news. But until then, my good friends, have an awesome day and I'll catch you tomorrow. Bye.